Welcome back to the channel. This is The Casuals. I'm Jin,
And I'm Saki.
and today's episode is Adventure Memoirs. And for those who have been watching, this may be a completely new segment, and you're kind of half right because this wasn't supposed to be a new segment. This was actually supposed to be a regular segment, but I messed it up, and I think I mentioned it last week that I had been rotating between two different types of segments, which was time we're not getting back and food or meal for two. So I messed up on bringing this segment to the as a third in the weekly rotations, and the only time it ever happened was the very first episode, really. And so now we're bringing it back, and from now on we'll be going through three different topics or like three different segments for a cycle. And so Uh, how do I want to start this off? So by coincidence, a new store happened to pop up near me, like a chain grocery store, which is called Sprouts. And um, even though I didn't need to go, I was like, hey, I want to go. So I went there to look at whatever this new Sprout had opened, looking for like a promotion or something. Because usually when a new store opens, they have like some kind of sale or something. Even though we didn't really, my family didn't really need any grocery at all, so I was just like, hey, let's go anyway. So we went because it was really close by, near my house. And as I went there, I was browsing through the aisles and I was looking in the drink aisles in the refrigerated drinks area, and I saw this particular drink. And I was like, that looks familiar. And it was a chocolate milk, right? There was three of these bottles. One regular milk, chocolate milk, and then strawberry milk, I think. And it had a particular design and logo on it. And the most thing, or like the most particular thing about it, is that it was a glass bottle, and kind of like tickled my memory. I was like, wait a minute, this looks really familiar. I was like, huh, this might be like a chocolate milk that me and Saki really liked drinking back then, and we could just never find it anymore. And so I took a picture, sent it to Saki, and I was like, does this look familiar? And then a couple hours later, you're like, bro, that might be it. And so today's topic will be about more about drinks within our adventure memoirs, like our journey for finding and getting these drinks and tasting it, and it'll be like three different ones. So, do you want to start us off with like the chocolate milk that you introduced me to when back then?
Yeah, sure. So, this chocolate milk, I honestly don't even remember the brand name just because it was quite a few years ago when I first had this chocolate milk. But I remember, I think it was in a Japanese market where my mom first found it. And we got it because we were just like, hey, it looks good, glass bottle, different, not in your tech, original, like, what, white plastic cartons or the paper cartons or whatever. So she grabbed a bottle, we tried it, and I think it was like the best type of like just milk, even chocolate milk, just milk in general. It was so creamy and rich, and it was a little bit thicker consistency, but man, it was so good. And I was like, Jin, my mom just found this chocolate milk. I need you to come over sometime before it's gone, because my whole family loved it. So one bottle won't even last like a couple days. So I'm like, Jen, you got to get your butt over here as quickly as possible before this is gone, and you got to try this. And so yeah, you came over like the next day, I think, because it was a weekend,
Yeah.
and I'm like, okay, just try this. And you're a little skeptical, but I poured you a glass. You took a sip, and you just looked at me like, are you a god? You looked at me like that. You're just like, oh my gosh, this is the best thing ever. And I'm like, isn't it? And so I think the next weekend I think we went out and we bought like a jar just for ourselves, just because we knew we were gonna chug this like it was just water. We were just gonna chug it. And we did, which was probably not the smartest idea because it is a little more expensive than regular milk. I forget how much it was. Do you remember the price from when you saw it at
It might have
Sprouts?
been $5, $6. back then.
Yeah, I don't know how many ounces as well are in the uh, container, but man, that was some good chocolate milk.
And after that, after we finished that drink, right, we kind of like, got over the frenzy. And we're like, yeah, it's like, it was a really good drink. You know, no lie about that. But we kind of forgot about it after that because we got distracted by, by the usual playing games, doing whatever, right? And the second time that I ever brought it up, we had a hard time finding it because at this point, you and I were both in high school, I think, by the time we wanted to try it.
Yeah.
Uh, so the first time I tried it, I was in like first year of middle school or something like that, maybe second year. Second time I wanted to try it, I entered in high school or something like that. Maybe I was a sophomore by that. No, I might have been a freshman. And so we tried looking for it in the Stater Brothers near us, near our high school specifically, and we could. I don't think we ever found it.
No, we didn't. We couldn't find it for years after.
Yeah,
Until
like,
now. Until you literally just saw it the other day now.
well, at least what we think it is. It is like we think it is the same one, but we're not too sure. But yeah, like it was kind of a mystery because like it was so good and like it just disappeared one day. It just never showed up. And we were just bewildered. We're like, where is this God sent chocolate milk? Do others not buy this?
Yeah, it was weird. Like we found it. I don't know how many years ago it was, but we found it. We were like, oh my gosh, this is so good. What, maybe like 7 years later, we saw it again, finally see it again.
Yeah,
Like, where has this thing
hopefully.
been?
Yeah, dude, it's just so weird. And so, we plan to go out later. As of recording this day, on this day, we plan to go out and, buy it and try and see if it is. And even if it is the same, like, brand, company, whatever, I still hold my doubts as to whether or not it is going to be the same tasting just because over the years, companies have always changed formulas and everything. Um, they've either, like, whether it's going for, like, the cheaper route, cheaper formula or like cheaper production whatsoever. Who knows? And the one thing that makes me that's like the one thing that makes me cautious about it. So even if it is the same, it may not even taste remotely the same as we remember it. But I still hold on to that slight sliver of hope that it is the same as when we tasted it years ago. You know.
Yeah, I'm also hoping it's the same, because if it's the same, I'll take their entire stock.
Just go immediately back to the store. Hey, I'm gonna grab all of these bottles. Just don't mind. And then
Yeah,
Boy's
just give
like,
me all of them.
the boy was like, "Why on earth are you buying 10 bottles of chocolate milk?" Shh, you don't need to know.
Have you not tasted this godsend milk?
How dare you question my motives? Uh, anyways, yeah, that was like our, just like a literal coincidence, that happened to come up as a subject recording, because usually so I'm the one that usually decides the topic beforehand. Sometimes we decide it a week beforehand, so like I mentioned it at the end of an episode on the previous, recording that we did, and then we record for this week. Sometimes I don't, and I decide like the day before, like literally sometimes minutes before. It's really random, but this one was decided because I literally saw it 2 days ago in the store, and so I was like, hey, kind of reminds me that we should do the recording for this chocolate milk story that we had because we always had planned to do the chocolate milk story before this even happened, but it was just a massive coincidence that I happened to see it and sent the picture to Saki, and then we reminisced about the whole story of the chocolate milk appearing and disappearing. And so, on the subject of like milk and drinks in general, you have an interesting story that I was never a part of, but you did tell me briefly what it was about, and I'm still interested in like the I guess more details about it, unless you want to save it for another episode because it happens to be with another friend, a mutual friend between us. He's closer to you than I am. And you had an adventure with him apparently with this drink. I don't know if you want to save it for in future episode, like all the details that is, because I know that well, I suggested this is that we have him as a guest on this show, and so I don't know if you want to save it for that or if you have other stories for that, but I'll leave it up to you. And it is apparently a story about a Mountain Dew drink.
Yes. So back in I want to say I think it was 2017 January, the beginning of the year, Mountain Dew came out with a series called The Labels. There's black, white, and green labels. They were exclusively for the first like 2 months, I want to say, on select college campuses like Cal State's. They were only on college campuses for a while. Don't know why. Really weird. And then a couple months in, I remember I saw it in like Walmart. And I'm like, oh my God, did they finally branch out and put it in regular retail stores? And I was like, holy crap. And so this particular Mountain Dew was the green label Mountain Dew, which was not regular, the tropical taste you get from regular Mountain Dew. This was green apple kiwi Mountain Dew, and good lord, this was the best Mountain Dew version I think I've ever had. I think it even beats out Baja Blast, and that one's amazing too.
Oh.
But this green label Mountain Dew, it came in 2017, and it was discontinued around mid 2018 because they weren't selling. So they decided to cut the whole label series out, and unfortunately, I was not expecting that. So anytime I had it, I just immediately drank it, not knowing that they discontinued it. So in like 2019, I was like, I want another green label Mountain Dew. So I went around, I'm looking, I'm like, they're just all gone. I'm like, what happened? So I Googled it. Yeah, they were discontinued like half a year ago, and I'm like, dang it. And so I was like, all right, no more green label. I should have saved one. Then just randomly, I want to say downtown LA. Don't know why I was over there. Just I was. I was stopped. I was getting some gas for my car. I went in to do cash because they don't do cash at at the actual pump. So I went in to see cashier, and I'm like, hey, I need some gas. And I'm like, I'm kind of thirsty. So I went over to their, little fridge section of drinks. And I'm looking. I'm like, do I want a regular Mountain Dew? I keep looking. In the very top left corner of the first fridge section, I see it. A green label Mountain Dew. And I'm like, no way. I grabbed that so fast. I'm like, oh, this is mine. This is mine. No one else is having it. I paid for it. It was like $3. I didn't care. It was way overpriced, but I was like, you know what? I need this. I drank it, and I'm like, once I opened it, in my head I'm like, I am a moron. Why did I open it? I'm like, I should have just not opened it. I'm like, gosh darn it. So I just drank it. I'm like, whatever. And then I told our mutual friend. I gave him a little sip. He was with me at that time. I don't know why we were down in LA, but I gave him a sip, and he's like, "Holy smokes, this is so good!" And he's like, "Were there more?" I'm like, "No, this was the last one." And he's like, "What?" He's like, "We gotta find more." So this adventure of finding this green label Mountain Dew started from like 2019 all the way for a whole nother year, maybe end of 2020. We were driving to any liquor store, any 7-Eleven, any stores that sell drinks like that. We went to anything we could find. Like we'd spend the whole weekend just going from liquor store to liquor store to liquor store, just looking for this drink, and we never found it again. And so after the disappointment on our faces for searching for this for over a year, I don't know why, what drove me to go back to the original gas station. There was a second one. I drove back down there because I was like, maybe they had another one. I don't know. So I drove like over an hour to get a soda from a gas station. They did have another one. I bought it. I still have it to this day. Haven't opened it. It's I don't know, 2017. It's like 5 years old at this point, and I'm never gonna open it. I have one of each label: one black label, white label, and green label in the can, not opened on my shelf.
And I remember because I went to the room that you had these cans in, and I just saw this. I was like, oh, like, well, what's up with this drink, right? I never knew you were like a Mountain Dew, like, you know. I was like, are you saving these for later? And you're like, no, never drinking them. I'm like, why? Because I had no idea this Mountain Dew even drink even existed. Because one, particularly, I don't drink soda, um, and two, I don't particularly go out and buy stuff in the first place in terms of like drinks or anything like that. So I had no idea this was a limited thing, and I just remember your expression when I was like, "Hey, what's up with this?" Right? And I was like, "Aren't you gonna drink?" He's like, "Oh yeah, it's like you were like, oh yeah, it's Mountain Dew Green." And I was like, "Aren't you gonna drink it?" And you just looked at me like deadpan, with like a serious expression. You were just like, "Never."
Yeah, in my mind, I'm like, you are crazy.
But I just had no idea that like that was like one of the like discontinued. It's kind of like the what's it called, the Crystal Pepsi thing
Yeah, but
from.
I've seen those. They brought it back, just for, limited time. But they have not brought it back since 2018. And
Yeah,
I'm never opening it.
but like the Crystal Pepsi was like 20 years before they brought it back, wasn't it? Because it was like in 1990s when they
Something like
discontinued it.
that.
And
Yeah.
there was like a famous video of some dude drinking like a 10-year-old Crystal Pepsi or something like that. Don't you remember that video?
I don't remember that, but I just knew I've seen Crystal Pepsi before
Hmm.
for just
But
like a month or something. That was it.
yeah, so I just like again I had no idea that that was going on. Like I was completely left out of the loop. Like during that time I think I was busy with classes in school. So I didn't really keep in touch during that time. And you were in the middle of your I think graduation too. Like you were in the peak time or something like that.
Yeah.
During that year, that is not like during that specific time when you were looking for it, but just during that year you happened to be really busy. So even despite it being the pandemic and most of us staying at home and quote unquote having more opportunities to speak to each other, we were just busy. um, and so yeah, I was completely left out of the loop, but I was fascinated by, and you were just excitedly telling me the story. I was like, oh, I see, because I mean, I get the like the value of finding a drink that will never ever be continued, and I do see some merit in that, and who knows, maybe 5, 10 years, from, even 5 more years from now, it might become a super prized like drink, like a cult following will happen again, and who knows, maybe you can sell it. I don't know if you ever will. Uh, but I found that really interesting, and so that kind of reminds me of another story. Sorry, I was taking a drink of water here, and it was about this drink that I don't think exists anymore. Like straight up, it just doesn't exist. No matter how hard I tried, it might be just, you know, this is. Funny story is that you know how you mentioned that this your Mountain Dew green label just didn't exist anymore, and you had to look online what happened to it, right?
Yep.
The funny thing is that if something doesn't exist for me anymore, I don't look online what happened to it, especially when it happens to drinks or something like that, because I'm not a person who gets super obsessed with it. If it's gone, it's gone, and I just kind of move on. So I never looked up if this drink ever what happened to it, or I never even tried looking it up. So I actually have no idea if it still exists, and I just have to buy it from like some specific vendor. But all I know is that it just does not exist in general grocery stores that I've been to. And so this drink, um, it's so you know how I think it's called like the brand is called Vita that sells coconut water.
Yes, I've heard of that brand before.
It's owned by Coca Cola or whatever, but um, Vita has like the whole coconut water or whatever, and there was like a whole trend I think back then, or some kind of fad, where like people would constantly drink coconut water because it was like a new healthy option as a drink. Um, do you happen to remember that fad?
Yeah, but Wasn't there a thing with the if you like drank so much of the coconut water, it kind of acted like as a laxative almost?
Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
that was the thing, and after that, I think when people found out about that, it kind of just died out quickly as a fad. Um,
Yeah.
so I didn't like coconut water. It just tasted weird, in my opinion. I was never really a coconut fan in general. The most I would be acceptable of was like those coconut shavings, whatever, for like um just like chocolate stuff or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, you know how sometimes you have like the coconut chocolate stuff?
Yeah, like the candy or like just for baking or something.
Yeah, yeah, and like the coconut shavings for baking too, like pastries or whatever. Um, but yeah, like I was never really a fan of coconut itself. But one day, my aunt does this really, to me it's kind of weird. But to them it's just the usual. My aunt lives with my grandmother, and she gets a lot of food or like stuff from other people, I guess, and sometimes it's just too much for them for just the two of them to finish because it's literally just her and her and my grandmother, and older people can't really eat that much compared to younger people, so she tends to drop off food or give food to my mom for us to eat. Just it's gonna go to waste if no one else takes it, so or if they don't eat it, so they're like, hey, why don't you just do something about this, And one of them happened to be this coconut water. But the twist is that coconut water was chocolate flavored. So, it was really weird. I feel like it is Vita that made it. It came in this. It came in like the same packaging that Vita coconut water comes in, which is like that kind of like, you know what I mean, like that paper cardboard packaging type thing with
Yeah,
the
like
bottle screw on top.
yeah.
It was the same exact thing. Which is why I suspect it is Vita, but um, and it was like exactly the same, but it was just coconut chocolate flavored, coconut water chocolate flavored. And I remember, I was just like, might as well try it, right? I don't like coconut in the first place, like coconut water. I've tried it before, but I was just like, I'll try this since my aunt gave it to me. It's gonna go to waste. If I don't like it, I don't like it. It's like whatever. What? But then I drank it, and I remember thinking, my God, this tastes so good. It wasn't like the God sent that the chocolate milk was that from the story earlier, but it was just really good chocolate milk. Like it wasn't like creamy. It wasn't, how do you say this, rich. It wasn't how do you say this? It wasn't that like luxury feeling that the chocolate milk that we drink before gave us. Um, it was kind of hard water in that sense. Like you clearly could tell it's a thin liquid, right? And you could vaguely taste like the chocolate or not the chocolate, the coconut, but it somehow worked so well, like the chocolate flavor with the coconut water. I don't know what it was, but it just clicked, and I was like chugging that thing. I was just chugging that thing through down my throat, figuratively, not literally, and I just kept on drinking it. And my aunt gave us a huge batch of those, right? Because I guess she just happened to have a huge batch of that, and I drank all of it, and I was like, more, where's more of him, right? And my mom was like, okay, and then like she told my aunt about him, and my aunt had, I guess, happened to have another batch, and she gave it to me. And so I drank that whole nother batch that she gave it to us like a week or two later, and then after that point it never existed. It's gone. My aunt never got another batch, whatever. She said that she doesn't know where it came from because I guess it was given to her by like friends or something like that. And um my mom tried looking for it in grocery stores. I tried looking for it in grocery stores whenever I was there. Never could find it. Straight up, just did not exist anymore. And as I mentioned earlier, I never bothered to look it up online on the internet because I wasn't super obsessed with the drink because I really liked it, but like I wasn't gonna go out of my way to like, or not. I wasn't gonna go out of my way. I just forgot about it because it's not a priority in my mind during that time. So I never looked it up. If I look it up, it's probably on there now. I think about it, but yeah, it was a coconut water chocolate milk. What do you think about that? Just like in general, like the concept of that.
Uh, I'm with you on the I don't like plain coconut water, to be honest. I've tried it many times straight from a coconut and like in the, you know, prepackaged ones. I still don't like it, but I've never tried the chocolate one. I think I know what you're talking about. I haven't honestly seen it for so long, but I think I remember I think it was Vita that had a coconut chocolate water drink.
I swear, if it was Coca Cola that took over Vita and then saw the chocolate milk, where they're like chocolate coconut milk, and they were like, nope, and got rid of it, I'd be so mad.
Yeah, also not gonna lie, yes. It is Vita. I did just Google it while you were telling your story.
Oh, it is. You saw it?
So Vita does have it, but it's not in the state that we are in.
What?
They still have it. I'm looking. I'm like, hey, let's get it. Let's go delivery or whatever. And the nearest one is a couple states away. So it's not really reasonable to buy it because it's ridiculously expensive.
Yeah, dude, I'm looking at this right now. It is this one. It's the Vita Coco Pure Coconut Water Chocolate.
Yep, that's the same one I'm looking at then.
What the heck? It costs $38 in Walmart, and it's out of stock.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I
this thing
saw
is. Oh,
I saw they had it at Albertsons, but not in the state that we are currently in.
yeah, this thing just does not exist anymore. Like the one I had, because I guess I have a new one which is called Vita Coco Energy, and that's not the same thing. That's completely different. It is chocolate flavored, but it's an energy drink instead of a regular chocolate milk. Wow, I think they actually legitimately discontinued it.
I would not doubt it. If we haven't seen it for years, I assumed it was gone.
Yeah, it's been a couple years since I've seen it. So yeah, it's just gone. I'm actually sad. I wish it existed, because I really liked it when I drank it back then, but it's just gone. I'm so sad that we'll probably never get it unless I like have to go through like hoops and loops in order to get like order it online and pay an extremely expensive um amount of just to get it. Not to mention like I might have to get it delivered from like a long ways. So I don't think it's worth, despite how much I liked it. But yeah. So we're getting near the end of the episode. Despite it only being a story about three drinks, it still is a long story. Surprisingly, Saki, we're at 27 minutes. Would you believe that?
No, I honestly don't believe it. Also, can I add something to your coconut water thing really quick?
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm like searching, how to get it. I'm on Instacart. I don't know if you guys heard of that, but I'm looking. It's like, oh, browse stores that could possibly have it. And I'm like, okay, so I'm looking, and all the typical stores that would sell drinks. And then yeah, I'm looking around, and I see Bath and Body Works on here, and I'm kind of questioning, because isn't that like a soap, candles, and like hand sanitizer store?
Yeah.
Why do they have chocolate coconut water? I
Maybe
can
it's for people
understand
who
like
use who use coconut water as their like skin routine, but then they do like, hey, I want to add in some flavor, and they just use
'cause
chocolate milk.
I was gonna say I understand Best Buy because at the rest cash registers they have those little drinks fridges. Staples same thing, but Bath and Body Works, I honestly have never seen one with like a fridge thing at their cash registers or anywhere in a store like that. So that one just kind of threw me off guard. I just thought I'd add that in there for fun.
Yeah, that is a very odd store choice that decides to have that. uh, anyways, as I said before, we're at near the end of the episode, so oh, one thing I want to add is that we should be coming up with a new style of videos, which is tier list. I said this too many times for like the past 2 weeks, but we should actually be getting closer to it. Maybe either starting this week or next week for sure. But yeah, so hopefully we get to that. It depends on the timing. I do have another video to upload during Wednesday. So yeah. So I'll end off the episode here. So I'm Jin.
And I'm Saki.
And this is The Casuals, and we'll see you next week. Bye bye!